Well, as the sun goes down tonight, there's only 4 full days of campaigning left in this election and there's no sign of the polls budging. Today's news poll is the 4th in a row to have Labor leading the coalition on a two-party preferred vote of 52 to 48%. Here's how Cam Redden reported the numbers on Sky this morning.
The Coalition's primary vote still below the level that Scott Morrison achieved in 2022, where he lost that election. So they need to get that number higher. When you look at the voter sentiment as to why people are yet to flock towards the Coalition, despite the cost of living pressures, it shows here a roughly 2/3 to 1/3 split of voters not believing that the Coalition, after 3 years in opposition, is yet ready to govern.
Yeah, but 39% of them only think that Labor should be returned. Bizarre numbers, aren't they? Let me bring in the former Labor senator and expert number cruncher, John Black. Good to talk to you again, John. What do you make of the polling that's been, there's been fluctuations at the margins, but it hasn't really shifted, has it?
Look, it hasn't shifted, Chris, but it's been steady for the last 3 or 4 weeks, basically. You got to remember that February and March were horror months for the coalition. They started off that period with an election-winning lead, and then the Reserve Bank cut interest rates, and the work from home fiasco unfolded and then was reversed. So it didn't get off to a good start for the coalition, and it hasn't really gone well for them until the end of March, but it has stabilised, and it's stabilised at a two-party preferred vote, which is pretty much identical with what it was at the last election, which was very close. The thing that interests me with the Redbridge survey of the marginal 20 seats, is that there's a comfortable winning margin there, but these are volatile seats. And all you need for this last week, Chris, is a change in the total vote of a couple of percent, and that could well be double the national swing in those more volatile seats, because you've got younger couples with kids and a mortgage, and they're the most volatile voters you can find. Yeah,
that's why this last week of campaigning remains so vital, because it is so close in a lot of those marginal seats. Explain to us the concept of softness in vote, because we're already talking about the Labor vote being softer than the Coalition's. Explain that concept to us and what it could mean.
It simply means that they're less strongly aligned, and they haven't personally identified a strong vested interest. Politics during election times, it's about putting the policies that you have that most resonate with the swinging voters you're trying to attract in the marginal seats that you're trying to win. Now, neither party has done a very good job, particularly the Labor Party, and they've still got a disproportionate number of softer voters. So they look like they may be heading for a weakness, if you like, in terms of the continuation of their strong position over the next few days. But the other thing that sticks out to me, Chris, is that there's a lot of the persons who are voting for others, people who have swung away from the coalition. Yeah. Is down about 1%, but they seem to have gone to One Nation. Now, they could just as easily come back in the next few days, or as it is, about 2/3 of them will preference the LNP anyway.
Those preference flows are so difficult to measure, and they're going to be so crucial. We won't talk to you again until after the election, so let me get you to put on the record now your prediction for the election outcome.
Well, I think that the Labor Party is looking like they'll be returned with roughly the same number of seats that they have now. The LNP is going to pick up about 5 or 6 seats, but it looks like it could go back in a couple of National Party seats in the bush with what we call the Batuta Teals. So, tree huggers who have moved out to the rural electorates and have changed the demographic composition of those seats. So, and I think the Greens are vulnerable up here in Queensland in the 3 seats that they now have, because the Liberal Party's going back and preferencing the Labor Party. So the Labor Party paradoxically could go quite well in those seats. So I think a general weakening of the crossbench, 1 or 2 Teals down, 1 or 2 Greens down, and the LNP up around about a net of about 3 or 4 seats.
Wow. Thanks for that, John. We'll see how it goes. We'll speak to you next week. John Black, their former Labor senator. That's sort of an outcome. It'll be good to see the crossbench weakened, I suppose, but that would be disastrous for the coalition with only a net gain of 2 or 3 seats. That would be a terrible outcome for them. We'll wait and see.